That's right, some absolute legend has driven their Honda NSX nearly 820,000 kilometers or 510,000 miles across Europe. We've got the story on this car as well as quite a few NSX mileage honorable mentions in today's video. Stick around. Recently spotted in the wild in Austria, this classic two-tone NA1 NSX has been piling on the miles since 1996. I've been following this car through the grapevine, so to speak, and hadn't mentioned any names, but I found where a German car magazine, Oldtimer Markt, published a piece on Harold Boehm's NSX last year when it had just ticked over 780,000 kilometers. So, since it's already in the public sphere, ich kann Deutsch, so I'll share some details. Zum Mond und wieder is an apt title meaning to the moon and back, which is accurate for the mileage that this car has covered. Harold is the original owner of this example, although his father wrote the initial check for it as a gift to him in 1996 for finishing his university degree. To paraphrase Harold a bit in English, I had a great father and I have a lot to thank him for. In exchange for finishing my degree, he said he would fulfill one last big dream for me, and that was the NSX. Harold told Oldtimer Markt that while he of course treats his NSX with due respect, he enjoys it so much that he just can't go without it in daily life, so it remained his only car. He knows it's all aluminum and won't rust, so it gets used in essentially all weather, every day, at times accruing more than 30,000 kilometers or nearly 20,000 miles in a year. He's never had a breakdown in the car, which he credits to simply keeping up on maintenance with help from his Austrian countryman Christian Mittendorfer, the owner of one-time channel sponsor NSXparts.com. In addition to regular oil changes and the periodic major services, they did pull the motor and replace the main bearings at around 500,000 kilometers or 310,000 miles, but that was mainly out of curiosity to check the wear. The wear was completely within tolerance, but having gone that far, they opted to follow through with the replacement. The original motor, even now, still maintains factory spec compression levels, and otherwise, Harold has only had to address the odd cosmetic issue with the car, such as having the driver's seat recovered. Our absolute hero of an NSX driver has no plans to sell the car. It's both a source of daily joy and now carries with it the memory of his late father. I've made a hobby of tracking some of the highest mileage NSXs in existence, and by my unofficial measure, Harold's NSX is the undisputed mileage king for the moment. I actually first proposed its coronation in a story I shared about the NSX's resilience on Ed Bolian's VinWiki channel in a 2023 appearance, and even with that broad of an audience, I haven't seen any hard evidence of anyone with more miles. There was one thread of comments on that video purporting a 500,000 mile car in Florida, and that was interesting enough to follow up on with a few different people backing up the claim. Through some context clues and internet sleuthing, I was able to contact the owner at a Florida university to corroborate the mileage, but in their own words, not enough for the mileage record, although 347,000 miles is still pretty solid work. I've also heard some rumors that there's a super high mile car in Japan, but watashi wa nihongo o hanasemasen, so research has been slow there outside of some multilingual contacts who occasionally share what they've seen. Still, there are others in the conversation, and the 400,000 mile club isn't as exclusive as you might think. On the short list, we have Sean Dirks, who was featured in a Jalopnik article and whose car we saw ourselves at NS Expo 2022. Fellow YouTuber Archie Santos picked up another 400k miler in 2023, scoring probably one of the last great NSX deals for a pretty clean example that they've now resto-modded on their channel. A car formerly owned by Source One Automotive, an NSX specialist shop in Ohio, left their care with over 400,000 miles on the clock, and finally, Sheldon D, at over 440,000 miles, actually has a plaque somewhere being officially recognized as having the highest mileage NSX at the time. There are, of course, other random spottings like this car in New Jersey, or a second 400,000 mile black NSX that was at NS Expo 2022, a picture of which I can't put my hands on. All told, there are at least half a dozen members of the 400k club, even if some might be duplicates from changing hands. The NSX 300k club could probably book out a restaurant. For a while among the highest milers ever, the infamous Charlotte NSX sadly recently lost her owner, having accrued around 340,000 miles together over the years. We have 326,000 miles on our own car as of this recording, of course now on our second motor since 315,000, and there are numerous others. Waxing philosophical for a bit, this was one of the things that drew me to the NSX amid other options back in the 2000s. All of the owners I talked to or read stories from were all about the joy of driving, modding, and traveling. There just weren't many horror stories of garage-ridden NSXs or chronic reliability issues with these cars. Naturally, I bought one of the worst clean titled examples of the car back in my 20s, and while I've definitely spent my fair share of time in the garage, the vast majority of my ownership, and later my wife's and my co-ownership of the car, has been miles of smiles, with only one really notable setback, which could probably be filed under the cost of doing business when you decide to somewhat heavily track a 300,000 mile car of any kind. If you're not deranged enough to want to yeet your classic NSX around every road course you see, a modicum of maintenance will almost certainly see you to the moon and back. To quote Uehara Shigeru-san, if you take care of your NSX, it will take care of you. Thanks for watching.